this has 3 buildings, but these 3 buildings are all going to be directly connected to each other, and there's 200, 1,500, and 2,000 users. That'll all suffice for this particular domain controller, but this is on a separate site. It's within the same city, but it's across town, and this one's going to have a lot more users. So if you have a subdomain controller within here, you will be able to control this a lot more sufficiently, so you don't have so much of a load on the primary domain controller.
How are you going to support a remote subcontroller? Will I have to have the people on site at that office?
Yeah, it's going to have their own IT professional right here at this building. It's so large, I mean, they're going to have their own engineers at this particular building. Our fully qualified domain names, or FQDN scheme, for our computers. Every computer that will be implemented will have, the syntax will be the PC number, showing on the example right here, PC01, and then the location. So in the primary domain controller in Seattle, it would be hq.boeing.net, because the HQ is the actual name of the primary domain controller. So anything added to it's going to just add another dot to it, so it would be PC1. And right here under the subdomain controller, if you have a PC under the subdomain controller, you can have this, the HQ just like you have right here. However, since it's under the primary domain controller, this is the name of the subdomain controller, which is Seattle SEA Manufacturing MFG, and then it will be PC1 in front of it. So giving you a total of PC1.seattlemanufacturing.hu.boeing.com. And the same goes for any printers, has the exact same scheme, except it'll be PRT01. You know, if you have anything you add, you put PRT02 and so on and so forth. And the servers will be directly under the primary domain controller. There's no other servers in the subdomain controller, just the subdomain controller only. So, as an example, we have Web01, which is our, which I'll show you in the following one, which is our web server. These are all the servers that are going to be under Boeing. Under the primary domain controller, we have the data server, which is data01. Backup server, the on-site data backup server is backup01. They all have numbers, so that if we need to implement any more, we can simply just add a 2 to it, showing that it's the second backup server. Our DNS DHCP server is DNS DHCP01. Web server, like I said earlier, is Web01. And our VPN server is VPN01, which will be used for our remote sites in Paris and Tokyo. And then this is our subdomain controller, the SEU manufacturers.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes.
I brought in some
Active Directory scheme that we're going to have for Boeing aircraft company. Now we're on to our server replication since.
Let me just one.
Our servers, our primary domain controller, the hq.boeing.com and the manufacturing, the Seattle manufacturing.hq.boeing.com, they will replicate to each other daily during after hours. So basically, anything that is added to either one of them will replicate to the next one. So both of them will always be up to date with each other, any usernames, any group policies, anything. So next, our group policies. The administration group will have access to all resources, every resource in all departments. Manufacturing will have access only to the ERD resources, the engineering, research, and development. All sales branches, including the ones off-site in Tokyo and Japan, Tokyo and Paris, will have access via their VPNs to the sales and marketing data in Seattle, which is where the headquarters is at. All other groups will have access to their resources only. And now I'd like to introduce you to Reggie Jenkins, who is our security engineer. He will be explaining to you all of our security implementations that we have gathered for Boeing.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Okay, security management is the overall vision for security in an organization. The goal of our security management is to ensure that the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of all critical and valuable assets is preserved. Fundamental ways to establish security is to implement strong passwords, implement smart cards when leasing privilege assignments demands. Leasing assignment demands proper identification and log times. Using clear communication to state the one granting access and hold that individual responsible by personally identifying the guest. Okay, and also to implement security, we're going to start off with device hardening. Our routers / firewalls will be disabled, will disable unused services and implement VPN. Switches, I will enable port security. Our user hosts or our PCs, users in the organization, we will use Trend Micro Internet security, and we will also clone image with no administrative privileges. Also with that, what the clone image is are programs for all groups will be applied to all PCs. But group permissions will filter if you're able or not able to access certain applications. So basically all PCs will have the available programs for all users. And if you have access, it will be permitted through group policy. Okay, and our web servers. We will use Trend Micro Enterprise Security. And also, with our web servers, we will limit who receives zoned domain traffic only to allow transfers from primary to secondary using domain name or static IP addresses of the servers. Excuse me. This will make more of a challenge for hackers to receive network information through reconnaissance, which is, oh, go ahead.
Quick question. You said the clone, like, are you saying that you're taking one from one PC and you wanted that, whatever's on that PC to go to the others and be the exact same group policy and everything? That's what you were saying when it came to the clone?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Basically, for our administrative groups, our engineering, at the servers, we will add all of the programs to the servers.
Okay.
And then we will enable the policy.
Right.
They will be cloned throughout the.
Okay, so you would push it up to the server, and then the server would push it up to everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Want to make sure I understood you correctly. Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, at our remote sites, we will implement VPN. There will be no servers. The only secondary server will be at the manufacturer. We will secure customer account information traveling through the internet with VPN. We will, let's see here. Yes, we will use AES algorithm with 256-bit encryption. So the information will be encrypted. And the IPsec security protocol uses ESP, which is encapsulated security payload. The purpose of IPsec right here is It's a security protocol that will conceal the data and identities by encrypting the IP packet. It conceals the source and the destination of the packet. Let's see here. The ESP, encapsulating security payload, I'm sorry, I have to get back with you on the ESP. Okay, but moving along. At the VPN, at the remote sites, we will use VPN RSA token access. What this is, basically, the RSA PIN number right here, it's only good for around 30 seconds. Only good for 30 seconds. And it's renewed every 30 seconds. Our users at our remote locations, they will not have to remember that password. That will be on their keychain. And the login ID, they just enter their login ID and this password. And to further identify what's going on is they will authenticate to a RSA server right here, to a DMZ zone, which is a demilitarized zone. It's very secure. Therefore, they will authenticate before they reach our primary servers. And we're using Windows 2008. It's very compatible with Windows 2008. And let's see. Yes, they will authenticate before they reach our servers. Moving along. Okay, for our network internet security, we'll use Trend Micro. They done tests with other enterprise, so they have gained value, and this is what they've experienced. 100% of their enterprises had that they've tested or debugged successfully had malware. They had stealing malware, IRC bots, malware, web downloads, and 42% had a network worm.
What is malware?
Malware? Malware, I will have to get back with you on this, sir.
Reggie, well, real quick, I keep on hearing.
There's lease lines,
Uh-huh.
which we have to pay for directly, but it's not a lease line that's just directly connected from one building to the next. So this is using the internet to provide data access.
Okay.
Is it more cost effective to use a VPN versus lease line?
Yes, very cost effective. The internet, of course, is everywhere. So using virtual networks is just, that's the up to it, is using virtual networks instead of lease line. It costs less. Okay, moving along. Let's see here. We have our third-party online backup for businesses. They have 24/7 phone support to our data servers. The features of Mozy Pro is desktop, laptop, and server backup, easy account management, automatic or scheduled backup, block level incremental backups, bandwidth throttling, alerts and permissions, encryptions, and data centers.
I'm sorry, you lost me. What is Mozy Pro? Is that a separate company that's going to do support?
Yes, it's a third-party company.
So do we contract directly with them, or is that part of your solution? Or will that be covered in your financials?
It is covered in the financial
Covered
document.
in the
Okay.
financials?
And sir, to answer your question on malware, it's malicious software.
Okay.
It's used to harm your PC. Or
It's the
still
bugs and viruses?
Yes.
Now, how do those usually show up? Like, is there a particular site click on, or do they just
They
pop
can
up?
they can come up in emails, like
Mhm.
clicking links to
Okay.
unknown websites.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with the third party OZ Pro, to put emphasis on the encryption, all user data will be encrypted locally with military grade encryption prior to the transfer via 128-bit SSL, which is a secure line connection. So the data will be encrypted locally before it reaches the third party to their service. The financial summary, which will be completed by Mark Claiborne.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Mark Claiborne. I am the financial summary. My duty is to take all the information they gave me, the equipment, and put it together and see how to total the cost of the damage. First off, we see all the network equipment. It will be $9,713,000. $713,938.93.
You gotta cover the 98 cents.
Right.
Design network will be the person who actually design the whole network. It will cost about around $12,365. And the networking, like router, switch, and fiber, how they installed it, installation, it'll be cost about $13,451. Then we go to
Quick question, Mark. On that one, on the networking router, yeah, the third one,
Yes.
is that for, just the installation itself, or for the circuitry and all
To
of this?
install it,
Okay,
to,
does that
put it
include-
together to actually, it's gonna take a while to actually install routers and switches and everything. It's just gonna take like a day or 3 days.
Of course. So does that include T1 lines too, for the circuits for your ISP?
Yes.
Okay.
And we got the internet, like AT&T and DSL connection installation fee. It will be $59.99 times 3 is, it will be $179.97. The server, like Active Directory, PHP, etc., how they, when it's set up and secured at the same that time, it will be cost about $14,995. And for network testing phrase, will cost $22,000. Each one of these right here is actually, will be presented, explained by Jake at the next one. The total of the whole price is $9,766,929. And we got the monthly recurring costs. We got the Trend Macro Enterprise Security Suite. That costs $1.9846. For each 8,760 bytes. That's $16,994.46. And
I'm sorry, is that $1.94 per user per
Yes.
byte?
it's
or-
computer. Computer computers, 8,000 computers. It's like
Okay.
all these right here are computers. So each one, except
Okay.
for this one's paid.
Thanks for explaining that, because I was confused still. Okay.
The maintenance and wondering, will be $250. Times 5 is, $1,250.
Is the 5 the servers?
Fine, sir? Yes. And we got the AT&T, business, double pack with local and long distance calling internet service. What we cost about $85 times 3 locations is $425. And for Verizon, that's the second connection. The second connection, if AT&T go down, we use Verizon. And Verizon would be cost of $74.99 for each tree. The total would be $224.97. And actually, I ain't got that right. That's the Tokyo internet service. They have internet and phone service provider. It'll be $29.87.
To Tokyo. It's cheap.
Then we got the Muzzle Pro off-site data backup. Is $6.95 plus 50 cents per gig. So you put 50 cents times 500, it would be for 500 gigs. As we started out as a started up. Then we're gonna flush up as soon as we got ready. It'll be $256.95. And the total of the monthly occurring cost, it will be $19,231.18. Now, we're saying our manager.
One more
Actually,
question.
hold on.
What is it?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. Did, you mentioned earlier about the 24/7 support and it being a third-party company. I didn't see those costs included in there.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go back one more. There you go.
So I see the Mozy Pro offsite data backup, but I don't see the 24/7 support.
It's all included in that price. It's a $695 basically for the whole entire service, and they charge you 50 cents for every gig.
Okay.
Back on your.
Thank you.
And from there, this is what the final phase of the handouts you're looking at.
Okay.
The handouts. So I am project manager, and Jake Thomas is my name. So to kind of go back over a Boeing network that we just covered, this will be the timeline that we're going to pretty much set up. This is a brand new company starting out from scratch. So we're going to first start off for the first 2 months and do a site visit, and that's out to each location. So we're going to take a pretty good while. So we're going to travel a little bit. So it's going to take 2 months to do that. And then from there, we're going to take 4 months allotted just for ordering the equipment and doing shipping, make sure everything gets in, everything's up and running. For the following 3 months, it's going to set up the ISP for each location. That includes the ISP in both Tokyo and in Paris, as well as all the ones in the States. We'll allow 6 months for configuration time. That's probably going to be the biggest part of the network, as well as the testing and burning equipment. So that's going to take pretty much 6 months for that as well. Because that's going to be the largest, a pretty large network, so it's going to take a full efficient amount, and we will make sure that we get everything working correctly before we release it to you.
Okay.
So the final 3 months is also kind of included good testing. We're also leaving that allowed, as Mark mentioned, for the shipping. The network design also included, so if we have to ship something back, that's also paying for that amount as well. So if something does happen to go bad, we get a faulty equipment, we'll be able to ship it back, get everything new in, and that's what also allowed in the time frame.
Okay.
So total, for the total Boeing aircraft company for the first phase, it'll total amount of 24 months total, and everything will be yours, signed, sealed, delivered, ready to go. Okay? All right, moving right along. So I'm going to, like I just mentioned, we're going to go on to phase 2. So you've just seen the beginning of Boeing aircraft design. It was created from scratch. We just built it. Now, after they have, so after they have already, they're up and running. Now we also have the merger, which, like I just said, they're going to buy out 2 additional more companies. You already know that the Boeing aircraft exists in Seattle, Washington. There are 3 buildings, of course, and the manufacturing is across town. And they already own a sales office in California, one in Dallas, Texas, and the other one in New York. And of course, I mentioned the other two, one's in Japan and the other one is in France. So these are the two down here. Still going to remain two VPN offices, so will be still VPNs, and other T1 connections will be implemented as our network architect will roll back in a second. So the two new companies that we're going to be purchasing, these networks are already pre-built. They were already there before our existence. Cessna headquarters, which is located in Kansas. There are 50 in the admin building. There are a total of 4 buildings here. One is dedicated for admin. 40 is ERD, again, that is engineering, research, and development. There's 100 in the marketing sales building and 2,000 in the manufacturing building. We're also going to buy out a third company, which is located in Mobile, Alabama. There are only 3 buildings total in this location. There is 7 in the administration building. There's 27 employees in the ERD, and only 200 employees in the manufacturing from there. Okay, so there's that. And from here on out, the network architect is going to explain the actual network design. This is Jerry.
My name is Jerry. For those of y'all that weren't here for the beginning of the presentation, I'm the network architect, and again, I'm the one that's designing the network, placing all the equipment, and just telling basically our financial advisor what we have to buy and how we have to get this to work. So right here we have phase 2, the merger. This is the entire network. As you can see down here, the legend, the yellow lightning bolt symbol represents pre-existing, which means that already existed either in the Boeing or Lycoming or Cessna companies. So those were already existing, already set up and everything. And then the ones noted in orange are what we have implemented for phase 2 in the merger. Basically, we still have Seattle as the headquarters. It's the main location for the entire site. We've implemented a T3 connection to the Kansas core, which was the headquarters of Cessna. And we also have a T1 connection going to both Birmingham and Mobile, which were previous locations for the Lycoming company. Also, three remote sites that are in the continental U.S. All the previous companies also had locations in New York, Dallas, and Los Angeles. So they kind of joined all together into one building, just to kind of make things a little bit easier to manage, since they are all now one giant company now. They are up to 115 users now, so we kind of went away with the DSL and we upgraded to T2 connections directly from each site to the Seattle core, as well as T2 internet connections to AT&T and Verizon. So AT&T is going to be primary. If AT&T fails, the redundant connection will be Verizon. That way everything is still connected. That's basically the only implementations for phase 2. Like I said, all the other networks were previously set up by the previous companies. This is displaying the branch sites. Again, the Tokyo and Paris locations, they're still on the exact same setup with their DSL connections with AsahiNet in Tokyo and Teleconnect in France. Then up here with the continental sites, they did change, as you said, the T2 connections and T2 connections to the ISP and to the Seattle core router, because they are up to 115 users now.
Are you using different switches than you used in the original phase?
It is going to be all the same equipment.
Good, thank you.
Network engineer. I'll be explaining mainly in this section our IP addressing scheme. There hasn't been much configuration change besides the new site links, which I'll explain. Okay, here's our sites. As we explained earlier, I'm sorry.
All
right, as I explained earlier, this is our 13.000 network. This is Boeing. Here's the other companies we haven't explained yet. Here's Cessna. They use a 3.000 network for their internal networking. And Lycoming headquarters, which was our first project, we used the 223.000 network. We're going to keep all the internal networking the same. The only thing that's really going to change is our point-to-point connections over the WAN. Sales offices, remote branches, ones that merged with Boeing, they're going to use the 3.0 network. They're just all going to take over these networks here, here, and where is it? Oh, here. Okay. Okay. here's where the major configuration change is gonna be for the routers. We're gonna still implement point-to-point encapsulation on these serial links, and they're gonna use CHAP authentication. All these will be changed as well for the address, just for addresses. They're all gonna use the 200, 100, 100 network, and they're going to be subnetted into a /30, which only allows a connection between this host and this host, which is this interface on the router and this interface. But everything else, these are all going to be the same.